like to bring up that we haven't talked about? Lucy, anything on your thought list?
One of the things had to do with just as part of the know your customer. I think a lot of us have seen most of our customers tend to be special purpose entities that are created to purchase the aircraft for whatever reason, tax reasons, whatever advice they're getting. But in terms of completing the due diligence, it's important to have a clear understanding of that, the underlying owners of that special purpose entity. So drilling down to those individuals and or operating companies and the ownership of that operating company as well is important to, again, ensure that you have a clear understanding of the ownership and management of that business and actually what business they're in. So I would just add that piece. And then also that, the risk doesn't go away. The money laundering risk, the risk doesn't go away once the deal closes. Could have situation where after the deal closes, maybe there was some fraud that we don't catch everything, so maybe something happened, and then those funds could be seized. There could be clawbacks. There could be the aircraft could be seized. So just understanding that the risk is ongoing, so sure that you have those processes in place to mitigate the risk is important.
Okay, great, thank you, Joe Carfagna.
I'm sorry, was I on mute there? I'm sorry.
Yeah, there you go.
So the question for me would specifically be what?
Any parting comments on all this? Any
Parting
areas?
comment.
Yeah.
I'd say if from the aircraft brokerage side of things, we have a heavy lifting to do at IATA, but what IATA is trying to do is put a lot of the things we talked about, put those safeguards and that code of ethics in place to take care of this industry before it gets taken care of for us. So, we're making that effort as a community to try to improve ourselves.
Okay, Bruce.
I think just along the same line that Joe mentioned is that we try to take care of a lot of these issues, even though we're not required to. One, we think it's a good business practice. We're very, we love aviation at our company, but we do it as well because we think it's the right thing to do and want to make sure we're on top of those things. And we'd rather do that than be regulated, especially when you're looking at the title service industry. It's made up of a number of title service companies and law firms that operate here in Oklahoma. Pretty much all of the industry is here, and we're a very small industry. And rather than having ourselves regulated, we want to spend the time and effort to make sure that we can do everything we can do on our end to prevent fraud in aircraft transactions.
Okay, thank you. Steve Friedrich?
Couple things. When you're going through the process of vetting your clients, you also have to make sure that you're using good quality sources. You can't always believe what you find on Google, okay? And I think this is key because anybody can post anything online and it lives forever, whether or not it's true. And I think that's why you need to have good quality resources. You need to go ahead and fact check everything that you find and basically have at least 2 sources whenever you're going and doing the KYC. The other thing, and again, this ties into the sources and the quality of how you're vetting someone, the community that we're a part of right now, the organization we have with NAFA is vitally important to me and to our team here because I know I can reach out to anyone who's in the organization through the relationships we've developed through this trade group and say, tell me what you know about this. Tell me what your transactions have been like in the past. And that can be both for good and for things. Why aren't you doing business with them anymore? Okay, why did you lose this? So these are all important things. This community, and again, having multiple sources to verify the KYC.
Okay, and Merrick, I'll leave it last for you. And one of the questions that's come up, and Merrick, I'd like you to answer this one. What is the best practice on mitigating risk on back-to-back title transfers?
Well, again, I think the big theme I've learned today in listening to our panel is something very simple: trust but verify. And I think when you do the back-to-back, the same can be said there as well. Make sure you're picking up the phone. make sure you're coordinating with and in close communication with the title company, and not really letting time pass. If it's supposed to be back-to-back, make sure it's back-to-back. But also just, Jim, look, you've been great with throwing out these questions, but I know you also have a lot to say and a vast amount of industry knowledge. So actually, let me just sort of turn it back to you now with that question, but any final words for the group today?
Well, I want to remind everybody, the participants and the members here, that our next webinar is on October 15th at 2:30 Eastern Time. And that's based on how the pandemic has changed the priorities of the aviation industry. Merrick, back to your question, what I've heard from all our panelists today is pretty much exactly how we feel about all this. As far as back-to-backs, I'm not a fan of back-to-backs unless they're fully disclosed. And I hate it when we have a person sneak something in, a purchase agreement in small type somewhere on page 36, that about this is a back-to-back deal and not in those words. So we're very careful with that up front and ask the question very openly, is this a back-to-back? And if it is, does everybody know it's a back-to-back? So with that, I'd like to thank everybody for participating today. The National Aircraft Finance Association is a great organization, and I really appreciate it. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.